Welcome back. And today we've got some big climbs coming up. We're just heading out here onto Mount Terrible Track, and we're just going to head north up to the fire tower and then continue north along Mount Terrible Track, turn off at Polleti's, and then we're going to head down into the Goulburn Valley. And sensational views up the top here today. Perfect weather up at Mount Terrible. And once we get up there, we're just going to have a really unique look over the top of the Goulburn Valley, and especially the upper Goulburn, where it comes out from Woods Point and then heads into the top of Lake Eildon. And the aim of today was to cross over the Goulburn and head up Holylands, then down the Jamison Licola road, and then Mcmillans, and hopefully set up camp somewhere on the McCallister track. That did happen, but it happened a lot later than I thought. By probably an hour, I had a bit of a turnaround, which you'll find out a bit later. And this is the view looking north out over the Mount Terrible fire tower, and you'll see the Mount Terrible hut just up here in the foreground. And if you're looking directly straight ahead there, and just in front of the tower there, that is the big river arm of Lake Eildon. And just as the camera pans around here in a minute, I'll take you through what's what. The far extreme left of the shot there would be looking out towards Thornton. And as you come around, you can see Jamison there in the flat grounds where it's a little bit cleared. And directly on the horizon, you're looking around at Buller. And that little bit of green grass down there in the middle of the picture, that's Kevington. And that's where we're headed now, down there onto the Goulburn River. And as we make our way down here at the Mount Terrible track, you'll get a good view out the front also around the Jamison area. As you can see here, it's no different than when we travelled north along the Mount Terrible track up the other side of the hut in the previous series of videos. It's very vaguely delineated between the track and the fire trail, so it's a bit of both going on here. With this is heading down the fire trail on a bit of a steep bit, but we're also battling with people that had pinched a lot of the signs. So there's some pretty well decked out garages around Melbourne, but some not so well decked out state forest or national park. And that little bit of fluff you can see flapping around in the left hand corner of the picture, that's a sock for the camera, which turned out to be as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike. I just haven't been successful at stopping the wind noise on the way that I want to film these sort of things. Great views on the track here, heading north, overlooking Lake Eildon and Jamison, you know, without having a drone and all those sort of things. If you're heading north, you can get some really good views for the afternoon. this is a reasonably steep gradient, this one. You really can't see it here, but you can see down in the picture there's an old jeepie that didn't make it. And I'd say it come back down backwards off this hill when we go and have a look at it in the tech. What a shame, she's not jeeping anymore. Nice colour, that. Yeah, I don't think this thing's very old either. I'm no expert on Jeeps, but it don't look that old. And they look like aftermarket flares. I reckon she might have had some big 37 trips or something like that. What an absolute waste. This is a great example of a really good four-wheel drive that would leave most four-wheel drives for dead off-road, including ones that everyone rates these days. They've just been trashed. It actually looks like it's come back down off the hill, hit that tree in this corner, and that stopped it. If anyone knows what happened to the beast, let us know in the comments. And this is an annoyance. There's all the signs are missing, so we got to go back up here past old Jeepy, and the turn should be at the top here somewhere. We're looking for a polleti track. I'd say it's up the top here. Be it. Not a sign to be seen, but I'd say this is it. Whoa. The only thing I'd add here for polleti track is it's very well made, very easy track. It's got some steep sections in it, but nothing outrageous. And here we are, we're at a pretty famous location here. I reckon most people that have ever been out into the high country out from Jamison have been past here. And this is the Goulburn River between Kevington and Knockwood. And it's famous, obviously, for the hotel at the Gold Rush, and even modern day outlaws on the run were apprehended near here. There's dozens of great camp spots and designated camping areas with toilets all the way along here. And it's a really, really nice spot. Very, very popular for campers. And I've noticed in the last year or so, it's proving quite popular with the glampers as well, with the big Chevy utes and the 40-foot palatial caravans, because you can get, it's really good access to this road, and you can get a lot of gear in here quite easily. It's a bit of a head scratcher for me, because I thought the reason you went camping was to leave everything behind, but I'm starting to think I'm in the minority now. And this is one of my little spots for having lunch or a bite to eat on the way through to places, because you've got to head up Army Track to get on the Goulburn River here, so you're usually the only one that's here. But it's just a really nice spot to set up for lunch. But one of the reasons I wanted to set up here is so that I could take you through the river and show you just here, that's Lazarini's directly ahead there, and just show you the river at low tide summer, you know, when it's low from the end of the snow melt, and you can see it's not that deep, and there's a great big gravel bar, you can see it better there, heading back the other way, right through the middle of it. And that there at full flow would be about tyre height on the top of the gravel bar, and as you're heading right to where the track comes, Lazarini's comes out on the other side, it's got to dip back down in the track and it'll come over the bonnet of the car. It's probably a metre or so underwater, but it's only for a short bit, and it feels worse to people than what it actually is. But just, yeah, this gives you a good idea today of what it's like at the low water mark. And if you're travelling through as a family with kids at summertime, this is it. Stop in, absolutely great place, you'll have it to yourself. It's swim, it's shallow, beautiful. And it's a horseshoe bend here, and just here we're around the other side of it where it heads up to Holylands. So we're really only less than 100 metres away where I was set up before, and we're heading to where the drone's flying around the horseshoe bend back towards where we were set up here. It looks perfect, just absolutely beautiful spot in the river. And a great spot too if you've got kids or whatever and you've got a canoe or some tubes or whatever, you can throw them in at the Lazarini side and pick them up at the Holyland side. It always feels dicey crossing it here in midwinter because it feels like the river's really, and it is, it's really flowing, but it's not as deep as what it actually looks in the winter. And here we are, we're going to head up Holylands. Now this is a really steep track, and as I explained in the first video as I was driving along, I did say that it was my first time there was 25 years ago and the track hadn't been touched for probably just as long. But I thought about that after I put it in the video. It's closer to 35 years. It'll be mid-90s, early to mid-90s, the first time I come down this track. And it's very, very steep. You can see it lifting the wheels on the car here, just because it's so steep, it's pushing the weight of the car down towards the back. Now the old disco, she's running light. I knew I was going to be doing some pretty scaly stuff on this trip, so I'm running pretty light in the back so she doesn't stand up on the rear axles. But if you're running a twin cab with a big tray that's loaded, you're definitely going to be lifting wheels off angle, and you could tip it over on a track like this. And I've gone to a lot of effort to show how steep it is, and you can see just coming up there, this is pretty steep stuff. Yeah, and the first time when I come down here in that 90-inch short wheelbase Defender I built back in the 90s, this track was just so badly eroded that it was nearly swallowing the little 90 up in some of the big erosion ruts, and it was just wild. I remember getting down to the bottom, and the legs, you know, the throttle leg was shaking, and you know, from going for the brake and the throttle, and I was really glad to get to the bottom of it because it was getting on dark as well. It was a memorable track, that's for sure. But it's a lot easier now. It's well maintained there, but you can still get into a lot of trouble with a badly set up 4B and not concentrating. That's for sure. And it has spots in it where it peters out a bit. You can see there's a few as we've been coming up where it's not quite as steep, and it has got spots where you can pull up on it if your 4B's getting hot or whatever as well, or you just want to park up and have a look at the view back out. Because it's so steep, you just do really get a really good view off it. And sorting the drone out and trying to fly it to capture it, it was a real pain on Holylands. And you'll see here, you just seen all those leaves fly. I just give the world's most expensive shrub trimmer a touch up there. And yeah, there was stages here where I was on some of the gnarly stuff, some of the steeper stuff, where it would just pull up in front and it wouldn't let me through, and it was refusing to play ball, which was a bit of a pain. And here's one of those occasions where it just decided not to get out of my way. Yeah, and again the same here. And what I think it is, it's because it's on such an angle into the side of the hill, and I've got the car coming up on it as well. It really plays up with its lidar and its sensing of what's going on, and it comes to a stop. It'll refuse to move. Because it can't level itself out against the steepness of the hill. I mean, if you had an old manual 60 series Toyota at this point, you would have been quite tempted to run straight over the top of it, because you would have spent that much time trying to stop and get started again on the steep hill. It would have been quite the challenge. Yeah, but that looks good coming up there, like the sense of the steepness. Now I'll save you at the moment, and I'll give you a best of at the end of this series. But there was quite a few crashes, just one after the other, just trying to capture it. It was very, very hard, and that was just one of many on Holylands. I was quite lucky. That I didn't smash the gimbal on any of the crashes. That's absolutely unheard of, so there was a win there at the end. And once you get to the end of Holylands, it's all a walk in the park up Snake Edwards to the top of Mount Skeen. That's a really, really well made road, that one. It's going the other way. It's got that really good wide Goulburn River crossing with all the big rocks and all that in it. I mean, it's quite good for anyone that wants to get a bit of a footage of their car heading through a river crossing. It's an all year round crossing, except for if there's a major weather event going on, I wouldn't be going across it. But right in the dead of winter, you can cross it, no worries, at the Holylands, across the Goulburn River back onto the Jamison Woods Point Road, and you can see it in one of the other videos from a while ago where I crossed it. that's pretty well it for Holylands. I didn't film everything, but it's a fairly good video for if you really want to see what you're in for. And here we're now on the Jamison Licola road. It's a bit different to the normal snow stuff we've been doing over the last 6 months up this way. Nice and clear there today. And we're heading south towards Licola, and we'll be turning off at Mcmillans track. And that'll take us down over the Goulburn River and then up to Bull Plain Road, where we'll turn off onto the black soil track. This just gives you a little bit of an idea on the maps. How we're pretty far south now in the high country. You can see over in that yellow region, that's where we're headed, Alpine National Park. And we'll be looking to make camp somewhere along the McCallister track, right beside the McCallister River. One of the most awesome rivers that come out of the high country. And Mcmillans is another one of those tracks that's a little bit steep in spots as well. And heading down it like we are here late in the afternoon, it's a good look off onto the valleys like these other tracks. But unfortunately, I had to come back up the track because I've got to take the maps off the bonnet. And when I got to the bottom to do another map check, it was up to the top we go again. Yeah, I could have definitely come over from Eildon and went straight to Jamison and then up the Jamison Licola road, and it could have cut a heap of time out of it, but it just gets so boring doing the same thing over and over. That's why I decided to cut cross country, and I really wanted to have a look at that Donald's track coming out of Big River and heading up to Mount Terrible as well. I mean, while you're out here, you might as well be knocking bits off the list because it's a long way to come back out. And that's pretty well the way we rolled travelling around Australia for a couple of decades as well. Always travelled light. With a vehicle that was really good on fuel, always with a TDI engine like Old Disco's got here. They'll return 9 litres per 100, cruising along all day long. Very, very economical. And as I mentioned before, a lot of the Asian four-wheel drives and that, they're lucky to get that now, 30 odd years on. But we just didn't limit ourselves so that you could stretch out and see what you wanted to see, because once you're out there, there's always something you find out, and you've got to get out there to see it. I just know so many people now, they cart so much stuff with them. And the cars just suck the fuel. There's huge monstrosities. And, they're just limited. They've got to turn around and come back. I mean, yeah, you can carry 44-gallon drums worth of fuel. But, its size, its weight, it's so limiting, taking everything with you. There's actually a lot less headache in putting up with being out there camping with a little less stuff than there is in trying to take heaps more stuff. There's always no end to people with broken vehicles or caravans, it's just crazy. But it is quite good for all the remote workshops out there. They're doing quite well out of it. And here we go. We're going back up after realising that the maps are up the top. So there's just a short bit of footage heading back up, just showing how steep it is climbing back up on some of the stuff, just to give you a bit of an indication for anyone that wants to cut across country like this to Butcher Country, which is where we're heading. This is a really good way across, although I didn't really want to do it maybe twice in the hour. And there you have it, that long drive all the way back up because someone forgot to take the maps off the bonnet. There was no swearing in the making of this video. As you can see, old Disco, she's heading down this a lot quicker than what I did the first time. Poor old thing. But she made it down, no worries. I'm actually going to, in the new year, early in the new year, I'm going to have a chat with EFS and I'm going to try and come up with, I got some shock absorbers that I usually run of EFS's, and I'm going to make a long travel setup with all the brackets and everything you need to fit out the same model Discovery, even, and probably go across and do the Discovery 2s as well, and all Defenders, you know, from County all the way to the end. Suspension setup, which I'll sell on my YouTube shop once I get that started. If anyone's interested in getting some serious long travel suspension that can really strut the stuff and take it all day long, you know, the last thing you want to be doing is spending that sort of money and then be fixing broken stuff all the time. Most suspension setups just aren't set up properly. There'll be a weak link in it from using cheap shock absorbers or all the brackets not being set up properly, you know, for long travel. The last thing you want is, you know, to be getting around in something like an old bloody Land Cruiser, like a cow on the way to market in the back of a cattle truck. Just shock and ride, you know, kidneys popping out over the bumps. We'll see what we can do in the new year. That's the end of another instalment. We're only about 15 k's away from camp here, down on the McCallister, right as it's getting dark. And hopefully you'll be back for the next instalment, because we've got butcher country and along the McCallister like you've probably never ever seen it before. Some really good footage. I spent a lot of time trying to get this shot the way I did.